I'm at the Husky Triathlon Festival. I'm doing the long course and I'm here because I'm trying to collect points to qualify for the World Championships, which are in Townsville next year. So Husky is the Australian Long Course Championships, which means it's double points today for today's race. So I'm here to see how many points I can get. So it was a good chance to do a triathlon in a different place. I've been wanting to do this triathlon for a little while. Got a good chance to do it in a different place and try and get some extra points. Although I thought the field would be pretty stacked with people, especially coming down from Sydney, to try and get extra points as well. I was probably more relaxed in this triathlon than I've ever been, so I felt like that was a good sign that I was going to have a pretty good race. The water was so flat, it was a rolling start, which is nice. You don't have the pressure of everyone else running in at the same time and a lot of kicking and getting knocked around.
The race has begun. So it's a triangular course, 2 laps, making up 1.9 kilometres, and 2 at a time go off. So it's a rolling start, which is much safer. Okay, I can just see her, purple cap. I take that as about a 40-minute swim. So the swim leg is completed. Let's get her coming out of the water. Well done, Amanda. Well done. Oh, lovely. Saw a turtle.
I was pretty excited that I saw the turtle, so I thought that meant that was a good sign and I was going to have a great race.
And into transition 1. Look at all the room you got. So rack next to the men who have an earlier start, and they're now gone, which leaves the transition area fairly vacant. Off with the wetsuit, on with the cycling kit.
I had driven the bike course the day before with friends and thought that it seemed fairly flat. The roads were a little bit rough and there were quite a lot of potholes, which you'll see later on. But other than that, I thought that it was going to be a pretty good course. That was until I actually got on the course and started riding.
See that flying now?
Okay, so out onto the bike course. So it's 3 30k loops and they come back through here every lap. So back through this section.
There are 3 hairpin turns on the course on each lap, and then there's 3 laps altogether.
So the lead men are coming through now, the pro men. So they've already completed their first 30k. So she's looking happy and strong. Let's see how it goes. Smiling as always.
So we headed out through the town and then out onto the main road. So this was about 2 k's out, and all of a sudden I just felt like maybe my brakes were rubbing, or I wasn't, I just couldn't push any power. I didn't feel like I was going very fast, and then this girl flew past me, although then her name was on the back of her suit, and that's Radka Karlefelt, who actually came second overall. So once I saw that it was her that passed me, I didn't feel too bad. But it was still a bit of a struggle actually going up along this part of the road. And it wasn't until I got to the next hairpin turn and turned around and came back that I realised that was actually a false flat and it was uphill. And then coming back down, I was doing about 40 k's an hour, whereas going out there I was doing about 22, and I was just thinking to myself, this is going to be a long day. And there goes Penny Slater, who I had a little hoot from. We were actually wearing the same tri-suit, so that was pretty cool. I got around this next hairpin turn and then caught up with another friend that I knew. So we stopped and had a quick little chat. So there's my friend Sue, who's also coached by Emma.
Hello. You had a great swim. I did. You had a great run.
And then as you go around this bend, the roads became a little bit rougher. And there was quite a long section there where there was a lot of potholes, a lot of bumps in the road. It wasn't very smooth and it wasn't very fast for me. There were some really good sections going downhill though, where I was able to get in the aero bars and get in the aero position and have a lot of fun heading downhill. So I feel pretty confident being able to go fast downhill on long, straight or sweeping bends, particularly if it's not too steep. So there were some really nice parts going down, but I was also, like always with the down, it never feels like the down matches the up. Coming around this corner, and obviously with 3 laps I had to come around this corner 3 times. It was quite gravelly and I'm not good at corners at the best of times, and having come off my bike only a few weeks ago on a kind of slippery section, I was pretty cautious going around that corner. And this part was kind of my favourite part. The road was the best along here. It was fast, it was going downhill, but it was also probably the best chance I had to stop to, well not stop, but I had to have my nutrition.
Here she comes. Okay, completing lap 1 in about an hour 3, I think, so that's pretty good. She'll come back down here in a second. So starting lap 2.
So lap 1 done.
Oh, I missed her as she came through, damn it. Too many people.
I like courses when there are quite a few people around, because it doesn't make me feel like I'm really slow and just at the back and everyone's past me. And this race had, so I did the long course, and then there was a sprint and an Olympic distance as well that started later. So those people came onto course after I'd started, so they were either doing 1 or 2 laps.
Okay, Amanda just finished her 2nd lap and she's averaging about 103s, I think, per 30 kilometres. So she's just starting her 3rd and final lap. So looking pretty good. Hey, honey.
So this was probably the worst section of the bike course. You can see all the pink markers there to indicate where all the bad bumps are. You can see it was looking pretty dodgy there. And the worst part was that was where I saw an ambulance, I think 3 different times. People having come off their bike, which is not something that you want to see anytime. So particularly on the last lap, there were people who were finishing the long course. There were people who were just doing 1 lap in the sprint. There were people who were doing 2 laps. So it was a pretty busy course the whole way through, but pretty well managed, and I don't think there was much drafting. Well, I didn't see much drafting, and I have seen a lot of drafting in other races. So that was always nice that people were playing by the rules.
Okay, she's coming into transition, just finished the 90k bike. Just a 21k run to go.
And these people here are doing the aqua bike, so they're not in any hurry to get to transition because their race is done. They just had to put their bikes away. Their timing had already stopped. They had to just put their bikes on the side and then they could run through the finish arch.
21.1 kilometre run to go to take you out on the foreshore and back.
All right, starting the run. Legs are always a bit heavy. When you get off the bike, it takes a kilometre or so for the legs to kick in. And then you just got to try to find your rhythm and get into it. Amanda's looking good on the run at this point.
My right foot was so numb. I don't know what was happening on the bike, but when I got off and started running, my right foot was really numb and sore, and it took a couple of Ks for that to actually feel better. You can kind of see it here, but I didn't think of it at the time. The first few Ks were actually downhill, and I was running thinking, oh, this is great. I don't feel like I don't feel like it's too hard. I don't feel like I'm going out too hard or I'm putting in too much effort. And I was running around 5:20 pace, which is probably about 20 seconds faster than I probably should have been going.
Good? Yeah, okay. In case you missed that, Amanda just said it's getting pretty tough, so she's not even finished her first 10k loop, but sometimes you come good, so let's hope.
And then at the 4k mark it all just kind of fell apart because I was doing close to 6-minute Ks and it didn't feel like I was like I had slowed down that much. The plan was always to walk through the aid stations. So I take my tempo run just before I get to the aid station, then get a cup of water. And kind of 3 things I aim for in the aid station. 1 is to have the nutrition. 2 is to think about resetting my form. And the 3rd one, resetting my mind. And that's what I really needed to work on in this run. Because after that first kind of 4Ks, I was really struggling. So it was 2 10k loops. So 5Ks down, 5Ks back, and then repeat. And that was a long walk at the aid station, but that's the only time I walked during the aid station. So I was pretty happy with that even though a few times I felt like walking at other times, I didn't. Just kept, there's a little mantra I have when I'm running, just keep chipping away. So the idea is just keep moving forward. I saw these kids jumping off the side there, and I would have really loved to have joined them. But I was like, no, we've got to keep running. I'm not giving up now. And Tim just seemed to be popping out of everywhere. Every time I looked around, he was there.
Do you want to run with this?
With the camera. But I definitely didn't want to be running with it. So on the second lap, I started taking the tempo run with caffeine, and I think that kind of gave me a bit of a boost. And Tim had been talking to that guy at the turnaround there, so he was cheering me on, which was very nice.
Well done, honey.
5Ks to go.
5k. Well done, honey. Are you having fun?
You gotta look happier.
I'm happy, I'm just worried about you. Are you good?
You look so morbid.
No, I just don't know if I should get excited or what I should do.
You should just get excited.
5k and you're done.
Yeah.
See you soon. You know, it's a pretty cruel sport. You put so much time and effort and money and training and all the rest of it into this sport. And some days it goes well and some it doesn't. So maybe that's why we keep coming back. We're always looking for that perfect race if it exists. Amanda, I think, is looking a little bit fresher. So that was the turnaround back there. The last turnaround, she got 5k to go. And she's done. So I don't think she's going to go under 6 hours, which I know she would have been happy with, but She'll finish.
So Tim could tell that I was struggling, and he didn't really know what to say, so I had to kind of tell him not to be so negative because his face was looking a little bit negative. I just had to remind him to just stay positive.
Amanda, you want this?
And gave me the GoPro at the end. And of course, running through the finish channel or the finish shoot, you get a whole lot more energy, seeing all the people, and it was so good seeing my coach there cheering for me. And I'm done. So I went into the recovery area, and my coach came up to me there. So Emma came up and told me where I came, and I'm just going to leave it here. You'll see at the end, I kind of said something just after I'd finished the race. So that was kind of a bit more raw emotion from the day. And points, I've ended up with 40 points because this was a double points race. So I'm on 40 after race 1.
Second biggest triathlon in Australia. This place is mad. I love it.
It was great to see some friends finishing their triathlon as well.
Everyone's favourite part. We're home.
So when you're racing, you go through all the emotions from, oh my God, this is so good. Like my first 4Ks on the run was so good. And I was like, I'm just going to smash this. I'm going to have a great swim. I'm going to have a great run. The bike wasn't that great, but I was running. I'm like, this is so good. And then it all kind of fell apart. And it didn't even feel like it fell apart. I just looked at my watch and all of a sudden I was 30 seconds slower. So I'm not actually sure what happened. And it's like, well, you know, maybe I'm not made for long course. I'm not going to do this anymore. Maybe I'll try and qualify for off-road, or maybe I'll do the duathlon. And, you know, in my head, I'm doing all these other things. Anyway, finished, and I came 8th in the Australian National Championships, so top 10. So then it's like, oh, this is great. I'm so good. It's all fine. So it's amazing how all the different emotions that you feel, and how it can change so quickly within within a couple of hours. So let's talk results and places. So I finished in a time of 6 hours, 16 minutes and 15 seconds. And I came 8th out of 15 in my age group, the 50 to 54. And breaking that down, I came 9th in the swim. T1, I actually came 2nd, had the second fastest T1 split. My bike, I started off at the beginning of the bike in about 7th spot, but ended up in 11th. T2, I was 3rd. And the run started off in 5th and ended up in 7th. So that gave me a total of coming 8th overall in my age group. Thanks for racing with me.